Well, welcome viewers. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist on the Central Coast, Gosford, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. I found a very interesting video which has caused me to come into the office and bring it to you on YouTube. I'll put the description below of this person. It's a lady speaking about why it took her so long to leave the narcissist, to leave the person that was not right for her. 30 years or something she stayed with this man. I want to say to you, it's a fascination for them. The toxicity becomes addictive. They enjoy the, well, at least at the start, the sexual interactions. They purpose themselves to try and want to make the relationship work by way of their attachment and loyalty and devotion to this person. Doesn't seem to matter what they do. I've seen this. I've seen many couples that are in toxic transactional relationships where they can have their drugs, they can have their sex, and they share amongst each other, go along with each other to allow each other to wreck themselves without having to worry about the other person leaving. But eventually it does wreck itself, ruins everything. You see, a lot of people aren't educated about the cleverness and or had the experience of seeing how clever sinful nature narcissism works, or psychopathical or narcissistic psychology works. It's very cunning, clever, especially the covert type. We'll go into this video now and see what this lady has to say.
Hey Jenna, why did it take you so long to leave the narcissist? I mean, 24 years, duh. Okay, I'll give you 3 reasons. Not excuses, reasons, okay? Number 1, you can't escape from a prison till you know you're in one. I didn't know I was in one. Now, the famous Bob Proctor, in his book, he said those words, and I read that book. It dawned on me. The words have power. It dawned on me. We're in a prison. I'm in a prison. Okay. Number 2. Okay. Number 2. Here it is. All right. I'm from the South. As you can tell, right? Tennessee. And in 1991, when I married, preachers were thought to be as God. Okay, it's like when God says something, when a preacher says something, there's not any difference.
And that was a big mistake. People falling for that one, a massive mistake. We're just humans like everybody else, and we need to be checked and tested and all the rest of it. There's nothing special at all about a preacher. You're just trying to gain knowledge from them. That's all it is.
Right? Okay. So I was under the understanding and had been raised to respect, admire, listen to all preachers that were preaching the gospel. Little did I know a preacher on the outside world is different than on the inside. How they can be a man of God in the church and get home and terrorize their family.
That's 100% true. A lot of these people are narcissists. You're never going to find that out unless you're behind closed doors. You got to live up to a facade. They got to live up to a idealism that they've presented of themselves, but at home, most times it's a different story, because they're running around trying to make God happy and stop him from being sad and all this stuff, and that just turns you evil. Which, if you look at my videos on the Pro Theologist channel, you will find them all about how if you try and make God happy or stop him from being sad, that's going to turn you evil. She must have been married to a preacher. I'm not sure what her situations or circumstances were, but something's happened in the spiritual dimension, and she's onto it, and she's sharing it.
So yeah, the wool was pulled over my eyes, and wolves come in sheep's clothing, right? Okay, number three is fear. Yes, I was afraid. I was. Fear overtook me at times. I wanted to leave and thought about leaving, but gosh, where will I go? What will I do? And I had aging parents at the time, and I didn't have any money. All of these play in fear. And when you're constantly told, who's going to want you? Who's going to want you? You know, you better be glad that I love you, because probably nobody else will. I mean, you are in your 50s, Jenna. Who's going to want you? Okay, there you have it. There's the 3 reasons. Got it?
So a lot of these people have suffered at the hands of narcissists, and they're waking up. They're starting to realize that we're being sold a bill on relationships that is not right. There are good reasons to get out, and you'll find that these are usually abusive. But the point of this video is many women have stayed in these relationships for all sorts of different reasons, and they've gotten into these relationships by way of fascination, loyalty and devotion. Usually the sexual aspect of it can hold them there, depending on the skills and ways in which that is brought to them. But eventually, if issues aren't resolved, these people will wear out like this woman did. She wore out. You can see how worn out she is. She's had it pretty well. There is a life ahead of her. There is always someone for someone. We try and vandalize people's future by saying they'll never get anyone and all this sort of thing. I don't think we've got the right to do that. There's always a future. There's always a way of making a way. But what's the primary point is she didn't know or wasn't aware of the fact that people do go narcissistic in relationships. And there's a strong awareness now of this. More people are waking up to it, and less people are tolerating it. It works in many different ways. In narcissism, it can just be outright one-on-one abusive or triangulate. It depends on what, or it can do all of it. But I recommend you get on here, look up your narcissistic videos and all the rest of it, and educate yourself, because this woman's saying, I wasn't educated. I didn't know. She's saying, I just didn't know. And so this is where people get caught. 30 years she put in. I've had girlfriends in the past that have put in 20, 30 years. And interestingly, some just recently I got wind that one of these women has gone back to her first husband. So a lot of it can be lies, a lot of it can be their resentment and bitterness build up on them. You usually find that these people go back to the one that they got away with the most misbehavior, or they got their way with the most. But at the end, it's all going to bring ruin and destruction and harm. They know this. Loyalty's a strange thing, but it always seems to win out in the end. But I think the most important thing is, once you become aware or awaken to the darkness that people can bring to you, that you're in intimate relationships with, the best thing I can say to you is you detach in accordance with the unresolved. If there's things that you aren't happy with in the relationship and that person's not prepared to work with you and be fair, you detach. So by the time they ruin it, you are detached, completely detached. And when you decide to leave, you've had enough and go no contact, it's not as painful. You detach according to the elements of unresolved. and that makes it easier for you when it's time to go, because it will be time to go.